While I was volunteering overseas, my WhatsApp went off. There was a message from my mom that read, "I sold your condo to pay off my gambling debts. You don't need it anyway, right?" I snorted and replied, "I already sold it a month ago. I am Isabella Jackson." For me, the word family has always evoked complex emotions. One of my earliest memories is from Christmas when I was 5 years old. My parents gave me a beautiful doll. It was a porcelain doll with golden hair, blue eyes, and wearing a soft dress. "Take good care of this, Isabella," my mother said gently. "This isn't a toy, it's a special doll for display." I handled the doll carefully and proudly displayed it on a shelf in my room. It became a nightly ritual to say goodnight, Emily, before I went to sleep. However, the joy did not last long. 2 weeks after Christmas, my 7-year-old brother, Alexander, brought a friend home. They ran around the house, including into my room. In the evening, when I entered my room, I found Emily on the floor, her face shattered. Tears welling up, I ran to my mother. "Mom, someone broke my doll." Alexander stood there, fidgeting with his feet. "It was an accident," he excused. "We were just looking, and it fell." "Isabella, Alexander has told you the truth. Forgive him," my mother said. "Isabella," my father intervened. "It was an accident. You shouldn't be mean to your brother." "But it was a special doll," I sobbed. "Alexander didn't mean any harm," my mother said. "Boys will be boys. You need to understand that more." Heartbroken, I gathered the pieces of the broken doll. Alexander was neither punished nor apologized. A few days later, I asked my mother if the doll could be repaired. "That's not possible," she said, looking busy. "We need to buy Alexander's baseball gear. The new season is starting." This event was just the beginning of a pattern in my childhood. My belongings were always secondary, and Alexander's demands and accidents were always excused. "Alexander has a special talent," my mother always said. Meanwhile, I was not allowed to participate in anything beyond school clubs. My desire to join swimming was dismissed with, "We are already spending money on Alexander's baseball practice." However, funding for Alexander's activities was never an issue. Baseball, soccer, guitar lessons, he could have anything he wanted. Yet, he hardly put in any effort and did not achieve results. Each time, my parents believed he had some other talent. They always attended Alexander's school events, but in my case, they excused themselves, saying, "You are capable enough on your own." By the time I was in middle school, I did not even bother telling them when I won first place in a track meet or was elected class representative. I knew the conversation would always return to Alexander. I could not understand why Alexander was always treated specially. Even when he made no effort, my parents always accepted his excuses and indulged his whims. Meanwhile, I was always expected to be patient and the understanding daughter. Then, a turning point came. During the summer when I was 15, I suddenly suffered intense toothache. My parents prioritized Alexander's baseball state championship over my pain. "Can you endure it a bit? We are too busy to take you today. Alexander's match will be over tomorrow," my mother said. The pain was unbearable, so I went alone to Dr. Harrison's dental clinic nearby. The waiting room was full, but the receptionist saw how pale I was and said, "You look in pain," and arranged for me to be seen immediately. Dr. Harrison kindly diagnosed my condition. "You have a deep cavity. Why didn't you come sooner?" When I shared a bit about my family situation, the doctor showed understanding and began the treatment gently. I was impressed by his skill in minimizing the pain. "Dental pain affects the whole body. That's why our work is more than just fixing teeth," he explained. After the treatment, he taught me in detail about dental care. "You have to protect your own body. That's the first step to independence," he said. As I was leaving, the doctor pointed to a photo on the clinic wall. It showed him treating children in poor countries. "I go on a volunteer mission overseas every summer to help children who can't receive dental care," he said. From that day, I started visiting Dr. Harrison's clinic regularly for treatments and to gain knowledge from him. The doctor taught me the basics of dentistry and the importance of communication with patients. Isabella, a dentist, needs observation skills, delicate finger movements, and above all, the ability to reassure patients, he said. As I spent more time in his clinic, I became fascinated by the profession of dentistry. The expressions of relief on patients' faces, the reassured smiles of children, and the joy of helping people with my skills. One day, Dr. Harrison gave me an old textbook on dentistry. It came with the words to my future colleague. That day, I firmly decided to become a dentist, to help people with my own abilities and build a life independent of anyone else. It was spring of my freshman year in high school. I arranged university brochures on the living room table to discuss my career path seriously with my parents. "A dentist?" My father frowned. "Why choose such a difficult path? A local university should be enough." "But I want to be a dentist. Northeastern University, especially, has the latest experimental facilities, I explained. My parents stared at the brochures, but their expressions showed anxiety, not joy. My mother coughed after exchanging glances with my father. Actually, Alexander received an acceptance letter from St. James University last week. St. James University was known for its high tuition fees, though it was not particularly academically outstanding. That's great, I said hesitantly. Then, my father spoke cautiously. St. James is very expensive. Alexander didn't get in as a scholarship student. A whirl of anxiety began in my stomach. We will have to use most of our savings for his tuition. He needs a good education. I stared at my parents in disbelief. But I have a right to receive a good education too. Of course, Isabella. But isn't a state university enough? There are courses to become a nurse or a hygienist if not a dentist, my mother said gently. Yet her eyes were cold. I want to be a dentist. That's my dream. Dreams sometimes need to be adjusted, my father declared. Alexander needs special opportunities. He has always struggled academically. St. James has a support system for students like him. So because he didn't try hard, he gets special treatment, and I have to sacrifice myself because I have been working hard? Tears welled up in my eyes. Stop talking like that, my mother said sternly. Your brother has different talents. He's just not good at academic studies. But he doesn't even try to study. I've been studying until late at night and gotten good grades. Isabella, this is a decision without any room for debate. As a family, we have to prioritize Alexander. He needs our support. My father's voice lowered. And I don't? My voice trembled. My father shrugged. Haven't you always managed on your own? At that moment, I keenly felt how isolated I was within this family. My dreams and efforts were easily sidelined for my brother's convenience. I was not willing to give up on my dream of becoming a dentist, but I realized that to achieve it, I would have to forge my own path alone. I understand, I said quietly. Yet, I did not give up. In the winter of my sophomore year in high school, I applied for a scholarship contest in the state's dentistry program. This contest was highly competitive, with over 300 applicants from across the state and only 5 being chosen, which would be an honor indeed. I spent 3 months preparing for it, sacrificing my afternoons and weekends. I devoured dentistry papers in the library, volunteered at Dr. Harrison's dental clinic, and completed a 20-page research paper. When the final 10 were invited for interviews in the capital, I asked my parents to accompany me. Please, this is very important for my future, I pleaded. It's only a 3-hour drive, and we can return the same day. My father ran his fingers through his hair in frustration. Sorry, but there's a practice match at Alexander's University that day. But I can't go alone. I don't have a driver's license yet, and it would require several bus transfers. Isabella, you've always managed on your own, my mother said. You can take a taxi. Ultimately, I woke up at 4 a.m., made 3 bus transfers, and took a taxi for the last stretch to make it to the interview on time. All the other candidates were accompanied by their families. The interviewers were impressed by my research, especially interested in the dental hygiene instruction I conducted at a local senior center. It's rare to see such passion and dedication at your age, the chief interviewer said. On the night the scholarship results were announced, my family was all gathered in the living room. I was nervously staring at my mobile phone. What are you so nervous about? My father asked, without looking up from his newspaper. The results of the scholarship are coming out today, I replied in a soft voice. Just then, my mobile phone rang. My hands were trembling and my heart was pounding. Hello? Is this Isabella Jackson? This is Dr. Brown from the State Dental Scholarship Committee. Congratulations. You have been selected as one of this year's 5 scholars. I screamed. Really? Thank you so much. After hanging up, I turned excitedly to my parents. I won the scholarship. It covers all my university tuition. That's wonderful, my mother said, but quickly changed the subject. Alexander, I've ironed your uniform for tomorrow's game. My father finally looked up from his newspaper. Congratulations, he said, but his eyes were already back on the TV. By the way, Alexander, did the coach say anything about today's practice game? Even the moment of my greatest success was quickly overshadowed by talk of Alexander. However, that night, when I was alone in my room, I vowed to myself, this is my success. I earned this with my own efforts. I won't let anyone take it away. That scholarship became the first step toward my future. Above all, it was a gift to myself to prove my worth. Once at university, I finally felt liberated. Away from my parents' house, I lived in the dormitory. I felt the freedom to build my own life. I studied relentlessly. I stayed late in the library, memorizing complex diagrams anatomy class. I met Daniel Watson. He was also a student aspiring to be a dentist. Later, he would tell me, I was deeply attracted to your passion and determination at that time. Daniel sat next to me and was impressed with my meticulous anatomy notes. You're very diligent, he said. Such concentration is amazing. I wasn't used to such praise. My efforts and achievements were usually taken for granted and seldom acknowledged. I blushed and quietly said, "Thank you." That was the beginning of our friendship. Daniel was impressed by my intellect and determination, and I was drawn to his kindness and compassion. In our third year, our relationship began to change. It was no longer just friendship, but a mutual respect and attraction that led us to start dating. Together, Daniel and I participated in dental health volunteering, working at clinics for low-income residents. There, I truly realized how my skills could improve people's lives. One day, I treated the teeth of a young mother suffering from pain. After the treatment, the woman tearfully thanked me. "I've been enduring this pain for years," she said. "You have changed my life." At that moment, I was certain that I had chosen the right path. Daniel, hearing me talk about the experience, said, "You'll make a wonderful dentist." He looked into my eyes and added, "I've been thinking about opening a clinic together with you after we graduate." My heart leaped. It was the first time someone believed in and shared my dream. After graduation, Daniel and I opened our dental clinic together. The startup funds were provided by Daniel's grandfather. This allowed us to equip our clinic with the ideal instruments we wanted without compromise. Jackson and Watson Dental Clinic, the name we chose for our clinic, quickly gained a good reputation and achieved success in a short time. We combined a patient-first approach with the latest technology to become one of the most trusted dental clinics in the area. A year after opening, our clinic was doing well and growing. Daniel and I got married. We wanted to invest all the funds in the clinic, so we didn't have a wedding ceremony. Instead, I invited my parents to the clinic. I wanted to show them my success and be acknowledged. They were initially impressed, however, became critical all too soon. "These instruments are very expensive," my father said. "Isn't it a big risk to introduce such expensive equipment?" My mother agreed. "If you have money to invest in equipment, you should be helping your family. Alexander is having trouble." Alexander had dropped out of college and was hopping from job to job, living without a plan. From bartender to construction worker to sales representative, he had tried and quit various jobs. As his debts increased, my parents intervened and took care of him. "He's a poor kid," they said. "You're smart. You should support your brother more." However, I had decided to build my life with my own hands, not according to my parents' expectations and demands, but according to my own desires. So, I did not accept the demands to help my brother. The dental clinic thrived, and Daniel and I became financially stable. Daniel wanted to invest more in medical research, so he started working at the university several days a week. As a result, I mainly took over the dental clinic and began employing another dentist. Life and work began to afford us some leisure, and we started visiting resorts during every vacation. We especially liked vacationing by a lake surrounded by mountains, and we began to dream of buying a condominium unit there. After 3 years of saving, we finally realized that dream. The condominium was located by the lake, surrounded by mountains, and it became a special place for Daniel and me. We always visited on weekends and holidays, spending relaxing times in nature. When I told my parents about our purchase of the condominium unit, they were critical. "There's no need to spend money on such luxuries," they said. "Alexander is still struggling financially." "This is our decision, Dad," I said quietly. "We worked hard and earned this." My parents did not try to understand, but it was not a problem for Daniel and me. This was a testament to the dream we had built together. It was only after years of hard work and effort that Daniel and I could finally realize this dream. After that, the delicate balance of my relationship with my parents and brothers started to collapse. One day, I was on a break during a dental volunteer session in Hawaii. For several years, Daniel and I had been taking a week off annually to volunteer abroad like this, providing dental care to children without access. Just seeing their smiles filled my heart with warmth. The time we spent interacting with locals during breaks was my precious healing time. However, the sound of my ringing mobile phone interrupted this peaceful moment. The screen read, "Mom." I sighed softly. "Hello, Mom," I answered brightly, but instinctively felt that something bad was happening. "Isabella, there's something I need to talk about." My mother's voice was tense. I set down my coffee cup and straightened up. "It's about your condo unit." "What about it?" My heart rate increased. "Alexander is in trouble." Her voice trembled. "He's made a bad investment. We had to sell your condo unit to help him." Her words pierced my heart. I raked my hand through my hair, feeling incredulous. "What are you talking about? How can you sell it without Daniel's permission and mine?" "The documents are already prepared. Your signature is there too." Her voice mixed anxiety and guilt. "What?" My voice shook. "I haven't signed anything." Alarms were going off in my head. My mother stumbled over her words on the other side of the phone. "But the documents are there. Your signature." "That's forgery, Mom." My voice was cold. "That's fraud." "Isabella, listen." Alexander had no choice. He was just trying to succeed. We are family. Families are supposed to help each other, her voice pleaded. I chuckled bitterly. Family. Yes, family, I said, the irony heavy in my voice. Mom, actually, we sold that condo unit 6 months ago, I stated calmly. Silence followed on the other side of the phone. Just then, the door opened. Daniel entered the break room. Seeing the expression on my face, he immediately understood that something was happening. What? My mother's voice trembled. Already sold? What do you mean? Daniel got transferred, and since we wouldn't use it as much and the real estate prices had gone up, we decided to sell it. We're planning to build a new house somewhere else, I explained succinctly. Daniel had received an offer to become a professor at another dental school 6 months ago, necessitating a move to a different city. Because I had the dental clinic, I couldn't accompany him. We had chosen to live apart for a while. Therefore, while the lakeside condominium held dear memories, it had become impractical. Consequently, we decided to sell it when the market price was high. Again, there was silence. I looked at Daniel, gestured towards the phone, and verbally relayed the situation. A look of surprise spread across his face. But there's a buyer already? The documents are also. My mother's voice was confused and shaken. I'll say it again. This is fraud, Mom. I will report you, Dad, and Alexander to the police. My voice was cold and resolute. Isabella, wait. This is a misunderstanding. My mother was panicking. Alexander said you would surely agree. He prepared the documents. A misunderstanding? You forged my signature? Let's end this. I hung up the phone. My hands were trembling. Daniel came over and put his arm around my shoulder. Are you okay? He asked gently. I took a deep breath and explained the situation to him. They tried to deceive me. They wanted to sell our condo unit for Alexander. Anger flashed on his face. That's unacceptable. We need to call the police. I had a firm resolve. A few days later, as soon as we returned home, we went to the police station. Then, the truth came to light. Alexander had been caught up in an investment scam and was burdened with a debt of $300,000. He had joined a real estate investment program trying to recover his losses. He invested more money, only worsening the situation. My parents attempted to help him by trying to sell my condo unit with forged documents. Alexander had created the documents, and my parents were using them to negotiate with potential buyers. They knew the signatures were fake but proceeded with the transaction anyway. Your parents and brother will be charged with fraud, the lawyer said. However, since there was no actual harm done, the sentence might be reduced. I was overwhelmed with mixed feelings. They were my family. I had shared both good and bad memories with them since childhood. Yet, they exploited and betrayed me. I could not expect love and respect now, which they had not given me for years anyway. Please proceed with the prosecution, I decided. Daniel squeezed my hand. I support your decision, he said. As a result of the trial, my parents and brother received probation. Their lives were transformed. My father had to resign from his company. His pride was shattered. Most of his savings went towards paying off a portion of Alexander's debts, and they had to sell their family home. Once the breadwinner, he now spent his days looking out the window of a small apartment, reminiscing about his former life. My mother began working from morning till night. She juggled 3 jobs, cashiering at the supermarket, caregiving at a senior facility, and working as a housekeeper on weekends. The fatigue etched deep wrinkles on her face. If it's for Alexander, she repeated, but her voice lacked its former conviction. Alexander was engaged in community service duties and a program to repay his debts. Despite feeling regret for consuming his parents' retirement funds, he was still on the lookout for new investment opportunities. He couldn't escape his addiction to debt. The local newspaper covered the incident with a headline that read, "Dentist couple victims of family fraud." Our clinic briefly attracted attention, but our reputation remained intact due to our professional conduct and contributions to the community. A few months later, my parents and Alexander visited my clinic. All 3 wore tired expressions, a mix of guilt and anger visible on their faces. Isabella, we wanted to talk to you, my mother said hesitantly. Despite my confusion, I opened the door and let them in. Why did you do such a thing? I asked. You have everything, my mother said quietly. Alexander has nothing. What I have is thanks to my own efforts, I responded. Stealing my success doesn't help him. My father remained silent, but Alexander burst out in anger. You were always treated special. Always perfect. Always successful. I felt sadness. Their reality was so different from mine. In my eyes, I was always second, with Alexander being prioritized all the time. But in their eyes, I was successful, privileged one, and he was the unfortunate victim. Goodbye, I simply said. That became my last words to them. I continued to avoid contact with them afterward. Alexander sent me numerous text messages. Isabella, are you going to abandon your family? Messages from my mother lined up. Isabella, Your father's medication costs. Alexander got a new job, but I ignored all the messages. I didn't respond to my father's apology letters either. They stopped asking for direct help, but their desperation was evident between the lines. Their lives were the result of choices accumulated over years. It was the end of long-standing decisions that overly protected Alexander and sacrificed me. Now, they are paying the price for their choices. I felt the impulse to reach out and help them occasionally. However, that would affirm their way of living. Sometimes, the most loving thing might be to maintain distance, to give them a real chance to change.